Alright, so now we're going to have some fun. We're going to put a third Doom token on the agenda deck, which is going to trigger its threshold, which means we advance the agenda deck. Inside 1B reads, your house continues to change before your very eyes. The walls have decayed, and the ground in many rooms has turned to dirt. It is almost as if you have been transported somewhere else entirely, although every now and again you recognize elements of your former home. The lead investigator must decide. Choose one. Either each investigator discards one card at random from his or her hand, or the lead investigator takes 2 horror. I would rather not take the horror.
Well, I only have the 1 card, so...
So what I'm going to do is shuffle up my hand. I've got one that I really don't want to get rid of because it's going to come in very handy if I can keep it till the end of the game, I think. My character has prognosticated that this particular asset could be very handy, maybe, which is why he keeps it in his pocket. Alright, Vicious Blow. Kind of sucks, but better than the alternative. So we've moved on. We're on Act 2, and the agenda has moved on to Phase 2. And that reads... The Barrier. No, that's what we've already done. That's what we're working on with the act. Rise of the Ghouls is the second part of this adventure. The floor beneath you is giving way, and you see a vast network of tunnels twisting into the darkness below. Shapes and silhouettes of strange creatures move swiftly through the tunnels, trying to find a way up. You probably don't want to be here when they do. No, I don't think we do. That's the picture they show. I hope I got a good deal on this house, because it's in a really bad neighborhood. Alright, so to top off the Mythos Phase, we draw 1 card from the encounter deck. I drew Ravenous Ghoul. It's an enemy. Now, normally, this ghoul would attach itself to me. However, I believe, because it has the prey keyword, it is going to attach to someone else that matches its prey. So I'm going to look up the engaging enemy rules real quick, just to make sure we do it right. Enemy engagement. While an enemy card is in play, either it is engaged with an investigator, placed in that investigator's threat area, or it is at a location, placed at that location. Each enemy in an investigator's threat area is considered to be in the same location as the investigator. Should the investigator move, the enemy engaged with the investigator also moves to the new location. Anytime a ready, non-engaged enemy is at the same location as an investigator, it engages that investigator and is placed in the investigator's threat area. If multiple investigators are at the same location as a ready enemy, the lead investigator chooses one of those investigators for the enemy to engage. Some enemies also have a prey instruction, which dictates whom it engages with if there is a conflict. And it says to see page 17 of the rules reference, but I think we can just look up enemy. When an enemy card is drawn, that enemy spawns engaged with the investigator who drew the card, unless it has a spawn instruction. If the enemy has a spawn instruction, it spawns there instead. Well, the prey is not a spawn instruction. So just to be 100% sure, we're going to look at... We have a handy rules reference, which is about 3 times as thick as the Learn to Play. And for prey... Given the opportunity, some enemies will pursue a defined investigator. These enemies are identified with the bold prey in their text. If an enemy is about to automatically engage an investigator at its location, has multiple options to whom it engage, that enemy engages the investigator who best meets its prey. This doesn't really say, because if you go by the learn to play, it says when you spawn an enemy card, it engages with the investigator who drew the card unless it has a spawn instruction. It doesn't say unless it has a prey instruction. So I'm going to assume it attaches to me. That could be wrong. But I'm going to assume it attaches to me despite the prey instruction saying lowest remaining health, which would be Wendy. Because I have 9 health and she has 7. But it says when you draw one of these cards, it attaches to the investigator that drew it. It doesn't say regardless of prey. So I've encountered the Ravenous Ghoul. Now, there are situations where it could disengage with me. If I evade it, or another card disengages it with me, or anything like that. It could disengage with me and go back into the attic, at which point, in the upkeep phase, it would then go after whoever has the lowest health. But I'm going to assume, because I drew the card, and because the rules specifically say it engages with the player who drew it, that it's going to go to me. So now Wendy draws an encounter card.
Grasping Hands.
Jesus.
So, again, I have to test agility of 3. I start at a 4. I have no cards in my hand to help out. So, I just have to hope. Unless you have something to help.
I do. I will play Research Librarian, which has an agility symbol to give her +1 agility.
So I'm at 5. I need a 3. And I got a 0.
So she stays at 5.
So we'll discard those Grasping Hands.
Alright. So now in the player phase, I'm going to get to try to murder me a ghoul. So, the ghoul has 3 stats above it. Every monster has those 3 little upside down pyramids. The first number is its fight ability. That's the difficulty I have to meet or beat. To beat it in a fight. The second number is its health. That's how much damage I have to do to it before it dies. And the third number is its agility. It's the number I would have to beat if I wanted to evade it. So had this engaged with Mary. That's your name, right? Wendy. Had you engaged with Wendy, Wendy probably would have wanted to evade it because she's not very good at fighting. Because she's a girl. And girls don't like to fight. But I'm a man. And men fight. Me and Dr. Christopher Milan. I'm actually going to use my gun. So what I'm going to do, my first action is going to be to use the action on my gun. What I do is I spend one of the ammunitions on it. So I take an ammo, discard it to the pool. That gives me a fight action. I get +1 fight for this attack. If there are 1 or more clues on your location, I get +3 fight instead. And since there are 3 clues there, I'll get +3 fight. And this attack deals +1 damage. So I have the equivalent of 7 fight going up against the ghoul. The ghoul's 3. So I succeed no matter what. No matter what I draw out of this bag, I'm going to succeed. Because the worst I could get is a -4. Which would still tie me with the monster. But I got a +1. Because why not? So, unfortunately, there's no such thing as critical hits unless you have a weapon that says so. So instead, what I do is I do 2 damage to the ghoul with my first action. Now, for my second action, I only have to do 1 damage. So I don't know that I want to spend an ammo from my gun. I think I want to save one of those bullets. And instead, I will discard my knife card to give me +1 might. I should have played it as an asset. Because then I could have got +1 just for having it out. Well, I can still do that, because that was only my first action. So what I'm going to do, my second action, I'm going to spend a resource to put my knife into play. So now in one hand I have my gun, in the other hand I have my knife. And for my third and final action, I'm going to activate the knife's fight ability, which gives me +1 fight for this attack. So I am 5 fight for this attack, going up against the monster's 3. So as long as I don't get the -3 or the -4, I should be okay. So I'm at 4. No, I'm at 5. -2 is -3, which equals or beats the Ravenous Ghoul's 3. That'll put 1 more damage on him, eliminating him from the game. Or not from the game, but discarding him back to the discard pile. Now I have a special ability. After I defeat an enemy, discover 1 clue at your location. Limit once per round. So I discover 1 clue at the location for defeating the Ravenous Ghoul. And that is all 3 of my actions.
Alright. So for Wendy's first action, she's going to draw a card. She's had a very difficult time keeping cards in her hand today. And she's actually going to draw a second card for her second action. And then she will, for her third action, investigate the attic.
All right. It's only got a shroud of 1.
Yeah, and she has an intellect of 3.
With a potential redraw.
With a potential redraw, so I'm not going to waste the flashlight on that.
Okay.
Although, we'll use the flashlight. So I'm going to investigate. I'm going to spend one of my supplies off of my flashlight, which takes 2 shroud off of my current location. So it is actually at -1 shroud right now. I got the skull. -X. X is the number of ghoul enemies at your location. We have no ghouls at my location, so I just succeed. So I will take one of the clue tokens. And that is my third and final.
Alright. Thankfully, we had no enemies, because I killed that one. So there's no enemy phase. In the upkeep phase, we refresh everything, draw a card, and gain a resource. Draw a card, gained a resource, and then that will conclude it for, what is this, round 4? So we'll move on to round 5 on the next episode.